Let's ask Mike Huckabee. He's the former governor of Arkansas.
He plays the bass.
He's also a Fox News contributor. Governor, what is it about Journey that it is a classic in so many ways and used in so many movies and TV shows these days?
You know, they just have a great sound that is timeless. And it's one of those rock bands that their music transcends generations and time. They just have some great tunes.
Governor,
That's
congratulations.
simple as that.
That was not on the pre-interview. And you were able to adapt. Look how diverse you are. It's amazing.
There's some things I'm never ready about, but you want to talk rock music,
you're
I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. So, Governor, no doubt about it, the president, I think, if you were doing a honest analysis, he's having a superb trip. It's from one country to another, reaffirming relations with him. And he says they're going to have substantial gains announced as early as Wednesday in terms of trade and alliances. However, people are focused on what he did on a whim. Evidently, his plane was being delayed an hour because they were there early. And he decided to go back and talk to a few reporters. And he said, oh, by the way, I talked to Vladimir Putin a couple of times, at which time, again, he emphasized that he thinks that he did not meddle in the election. So he said he is under the belief, I believe that he sincerely believes he didn't meddle in the election. And then all hell broke loose. What is your take on the president's handling of this?
Well, it's interesting, Brian, because the people who were actually there with him, for example, Fox's John Roberts, Major Garrett from CBS, they all said, look, you guys have missed this. He was very expressly clear, not in saying that Putin, that I believe it, he said, but Putin believes it. And if you listen to what Donald Trump said, which actually was played on air and is available online, he never said, I believe Putin. He said, Putin believes Putin, but I believe our agencies, and I believe the people who work for me in those agencies, and they tell me something different. It was very clear. But this is what Donald Trump has to deal with every day, a press that will find a way to twist the story so they have a way of making it totally negative.
Yeah, the quote the quote that the president said was, he said he didn't meddle. I asked him again. You can only ask so many times. I just asked him again. He said he absolutely did not meddle in our election. He did not do what they are saying he did. Now, John Brennan was on one of the Sunday shows yesterday saying the president is saying this and trying to get this message out because he's fearful of Vladimir Putin. Listen to this and let's get your reaction.
I think Mr. Trump is, for whatever reason, either intimidated by Mr. Putin, afraid of what he could do or what might come out as a result of these investigations. So it's very worrisome. It's either naivete, ignorance, or fear in terms of what Mr. Trump is doing vis-a-vis the Russians.
Do you think he's scared of Vladimir Putin?
No, that guy that just talked, he's a tool. I mean, come on. Donald Trump is not afraid of anybody. Look at him. This is a guy who talks straight to the faces of anybody he wants to, and he's pretty clear about it. I think it's absurd, and it's one more way in which the media has discredited themselves. Guys like that basically validate Donald Trump's moniker for them as fake news. I think Trump has had a remarkable trip. He's gone to these various countries. He's shown his ability to negotiate with the world leaders in a way that we have not seen in decades. He's straightforward with them. We're renegotiating trade deals. I think his conversations with China will result in a different kind of approach to North Korea. I don't know what they're missing here, but boy, they're missing a lot.
Well, as the father of the White House press secretary, I'm sure you're paying a lot of attention to all the press coverage. What's interesting is during this particular 12-day swing through Asia, you know, first there was the, look, he dumped the whole box of fish food in, the thing about the Japanese cars. And then yesterday, when they were doing the class photo at the conclusion of this summit, there was a moment when a New York Times photographer by the name of Doug Mills, who was upset the day before because they were not allowed to cover the APEC forum, he actually took this picture, and the Washington Post said Mills got his revenge, the family photo, for that awkward moment. And the revenge was, Governor, that the President of the United States had a grimace. He did not look his best, even though, you know, you look at the balance of the tape, and it is more distinguished than that picture right there. Are they selectively...
Here's the tape.
Right. Watch. Are they selectively going for the photo that makes him look bad?
There's an old expression that those of us who have been on the other side of the camera, particularly in politics, have always said. The reason the photographer takes so many pictures is that he keeps looking for one that's so bad he can actually print it on the front page. Look, these are motor wine cameras. I mean, they just take, it's like a machine gun going off, how many frames, per second they're taking these shots. So he has hundreds of pictures from that very scene to take from, and he picks one, an isolated frame, so it looks bad. This is what people get so disgusted by, and this was a hit job on trying to make Donald Trump look bad, when if you watch the video, it's just a funny moment. He's holding hands with these guys.
Stretching.
Look, those things are awkward anyway. They really are.
Right.
But I think he handled it well, and he had a good sport about it.
So here's what the Washington Post wrote. Trump's awkward grimace reveals the messy reality of high-stakes geopolitical politics, and an airbrushed official portrait of the family would gloss over. Photos like these can help us remind us that there are different motivations and different levels of comfort on the world stage at play behind the scenes. You know what's so amazing? This is something I never anticipated. There are times when a president goes overseas, and I remember when Mitt Romney as a candidate went over to England and said, hey, I got a problem. They're not really ready to host the Olympics. That was a mistake. Not many people think horrible things about Mitt Romney. He obviously would want that statement back because it ended up being played negatively. Now, the president goes overseas and he gets treated well by South Korea, liberal leader, gets treated very well by Abe over in Japan, then goes over to China and gets this pomp and circumstances. And instead of saying, wow, they're really upbeat about this president, they're saying they're playing to his ego. What do they mean? Every time a president's treated well, they're playing to his ego if your name is Donald Trump?
Well, what they're doing is showing respect. I mean, they have more respect for him than the media in the United States has, and that's a little bit discomforting. But Donald Trump has had a successful trip, and they cannot find a way to really diminish what he has accomplished and the manner of respect in which he is brought to the United States. America is back. I mean, I hate to break this to some of the people who can't stand him, and some of those are Republicans, but the truth is he's a strong leader. He exhibits and exerts that strong leadership, and people respect strength. They do not respect apologies and groveling. And what we have in Donald Trump, like him or not, he's a person who believes in this country. It's why he's president, and it's why he's had a very successful trip. He's projecting the America that many of us love and appreciate.
You have unbelievable contacts in Israel, and now you could do a lot of original reporting there. We understand the Trump administration is putting together a Middle East peace plan ready to go, with Saudi Arabia playing a major role, and they're also really looking at the West Bank and a movement of the capital. How does this all play into what the president's going to propose that you know of?
I can only hope that there is a legitimate process in place, at least a proposal, but I'm going to be very honest with you. I do fear that the president may be getting some advice that is not 100% correct, that Mahmoud and the Palestinians want some peace deal. I'll believe that when they stop naming streets after terrorists. I'll believe it when they recognize Jerusalem can never be divided, and when Israel has a right to a secure and safe homeland. When that happens and it's publicly acknowledged, then I'll believe that there's a legitimate opportunity for some resolve.
So you're skeptical?
It could happen. I pray it happens. I am skeptical. Yes, I am. And I want to be a believer. I want to be somebody who says, yes, this all is going to work out. But I've never seen an honest sense of the Palestinians to say, we recognize Israel's right to the capital of Jerusalem undivided, which has to happen. You cannot divide that city up. And Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. It's never been the capital of any other people ever. Never was the capital of Jordan. Never was the capital of any other country except for Israel. And it has to stay that way.
Governor, who do you think is leading him down the wrong path? Who's giving him bad information?
Rather not go there, but, I think there's some good people, sincere people, but I don't know that they truly understand the depth of this issue. This is not an issue that goes back to 1948 or the 1917 Balfour Agreement. This goes all the way back to Isaac and Ishmael, and unless somebody can resolve that, You can have all the talks you want, but something is not going to just wave the magic wand. And it may be that there's a desire to put a Palestinian nation in part of the Arab countries. Let me just remind you that there are 640 times more acres of land under Arab control than there are under Israeli control. Israel only owns 1/640th of the property and land, and to ask them to give up more is absurd.
Governor,
We'll see.
thank you for being with us.